7%. Republican Representative Tom Cole, back in his home state of Oklahoma, no doubt talking to his constituents about all of this. It's good to be with you tonight, sir. What are your thoughts?
Hey, Liz, great to be with you. Look, this bill is a terrible bill, and I think what we're seeing is the more the American people have a chance to actually look at the bill, read the bill, and hear it discussed, the less they like it. It's going to raise their taxes. It's going to increase their health care premiums. It's going to ultimately increase the deficit pretty dramatically unless Congress makes cuts that it's never made before, and it's going to push us well down the road to a government-run health care system. So it really is a turkey of a bill. And people will listen to their constituents instead of to the president, frankly. This bill will go down overwhelmingly.
Congressman, what are you hearing from your constituents?
Gosh, you'd have to be 3 states away not to hear my constituents. They are turning out in record numbers at town halls and teletown halls, and they're screaming, what is the matter with you guys? Didn't you listen to the types of things we said in August? Why won't you do tort reform? Why won't you do national markets? Why won't you do associated health plans where small businesses can pool together and buy insurance? Why don't you do, for goodness sakes, tort reform? Those things are pretty easy if you just listen to the voters. They actually want us to proceed step by step with things that actually bring down the cost. And if you bring down the cost, you'll have more accessibility.
I'll tell you something. You bring up tort reform. Let's stay on that point for a quick second. The president has talked time and again about how there's an overuse of CAT scans in this country. Well, you want to know why? The #1 tort lawsuit that is always wins in the courts is misdiagnosis of cancers. And that's why there's a lot of CAT scans in this country, because of lack of tort reform, right?
Look, I have doctor after doctor. I've had health care forums with health care professionals make that very point. Say, look, we literally do order a lot of things that we don't think are necessary simply to protect us in a lawsuit. And if you look at what insurance costs them, Oklahoma's a pretty reasonable place compared to most places in the country. But I had one doctor say, look, it's $150 every single day of the year to pay my insurance before I do one other thing. And it's much higher than that in a lot of other states. So, it's a no-brainer. The American people want it overwhelmingly. The only reason we're not getting, we passed it in the House when Republicans were in control, but Democrats blocked tort reform when they were in the minority. They won't even consider it now that they're in the majority.
Congressman, do we get a bill in the dead of night on Christmas Eve, or do you think that this will spill over into 2010?
I think it'll go into 2010, but I think the thing to be worried about is if they get it out of the Senate. Right now we do have that 60-vote barrier, and I think, frankly, the majority leader is very apt to just do and say almost anything to get that 60th vote. But once it goes to conference, the bill will get worse, not better. And when it comes out of conference, it'll only need 51 votes in the Senate. So they can afford to lose a lot of these moderates. And so I'm very worried that there's a sort of bait-and-switch game going on here. Make the bill a little bit better in the Senate version, then really load it up in conference and pass it with a much lower requirement in the United States Senate in terms of the votes you need.
All right. Representative Tom Cole, Republican from Oklahoma. So good to be with you tonight, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Hey, Liz, thank you.
Delighted. All right. Next up, Congress might be on vacation, but Tea Party organizers